How do you feel so far, physically?
Yeah, this camp has been a little bit of a whirlwind for me. Overall, I'm feeling good. I'm still in this kind of ramp-up phase, obviously coming off the foot, and I feel like the foot did really well this offseason, the first couple days, and then I had the ribs, and so now I'm just starting to ramp up again and take it one day at a time.
Is the foot good? I mean, is that over with now, or is it something you still?
I mean, I think a Liz prank is never over with, but it feels good. Like, I feel like I can do everything I need to do right now, and it's just being able to handle the volume that I'm going to be asked to do, and so we're just trying to gauge what that is and what that looks like. But overall, I'm very happy with where my foot is.
Does it feel
expect
similar?
that volume to include some new things that Dennis has said a few times that you're going to be doing all the things you've done before. Might the volume also include some new things you haven't done yet?
Yeah, I mean, I think the ribs was kind of obviously bad timing. It was like as we started camp, it was going to get me exposure to doing different things and seeing what I was comfortable with, what everyone was comfortable with. But I think that question is still to be determined, and I don't know what that's going to look like. But I think from what we've done in the past, we'll continue to build on that and see where we go.
I remember last offseason you kind of like tailored your workouts and changed your body a little bit coming in. Did you have to kind of rebuild and go back this offseason?
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing, when you have a season-ending injury, last game of the season for me, so much emphasis gets put on getting that injury right. And so a lot of emphasis goes there, and it takes away from, like, you trying to be better a football player.
Right.
And normally I enter off-season, I have a few things that I want to focus on and be really deliberate with. But when you have an injury like this, you've got to tailor everything there. And so I would say most of my emphasis this off-season was making sure my foot was strong, making sure that I was able to do everything I would need to.
Taysom, do you view yourself like playing with a flak jacket? Because the aggressive nature that you are with the rib injury, is that something that you could see yourself doing?
Are you talking like the old school?
No,
like,
I mean, you do like custom
what are we
fit,
talking about?
not the big barrel, but
Yeah.
custom fit.
Yeah, I have a custom, rib protector and something that they made me that, has like a little dimple in the front to take away pressure of where the rib was displaced. And so we'll continue to at this point, you got to make sure you're not taking unnecessary risk to re-injure that area, but protected. And so I've got that. I imagine I'll be wearing that for a while.
Do you feel like you know the tight end position well, or are you still kind of learning the nuances of that
No,
position?
I'm still learning for sure. I think last year, the nice thing for me, I know some of the things they're going to ask me to do. And the reality is everything was just kind of like learn as you go, right? So they were kind of giving me the bare minimum of helping me fulfill what I was going to be asked to do. And I think now there's been an added emphasis of, hey, let's make sure we're helping him understand the stuff that we're going to ask him to do and give him the proper technique to be successful at doing it. So I appreciate that. And, with that being said, I'm still very raw in a lot of this stuff, but it's nice to get some exposure.
And that's probably just to have to put your hand on the ground.
Yeah, I was laughing with our tight end coach the first day. It's like, hey, just come with me and let's work on your three-point stance, because I was juggling with him. I've never done that before. And so, like I said, we started from ground zero and we just started building from there.
We talked a lot in the last couple of years about wanting to play quarterback. Are you sort of at peace with this, with doing this role full time now?
I don't know. I mean, I've never shied away from letting you guys know what my hope was, what my expectation was. I would say I'm at peace with knowing how the league works, right? And so things aren't up to me. And so with that being said, I'm willing to to do what I need to do to help us win football games, and I'm at peace with that and helping, knowing that I'm contributing to us winning games, and I love playing, and so it creates opportunities for me to add value and be on the field and compete and do all that stuff, and I'm certainly at peace with that.
Taysom, after having like the opportunity to kind of separate yourself from last year a little bit, how tough was that for you? Just it seemed like every single time you got back on the field, there was something new you were dealing with there.
Yeah, I mean, certainly frustrating. It's hard to get in a rhythm when you start to have different things pop up, or you miss a number of games because of one injury and then a number of games because of another one. But that's part of the game, and unfortunately, sometimes you have seasons that go that way, and that's not a new thing to me, and but we made the most of it.
How long was it until you were able to get the splint on that?
Yeah, good question. I think it was maybe like 2 weeks after the season, something like that.
Do you expect to throw some passes this year, though? I mean, do you expect to play some quarterback?
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, I think we've got a structure of what we've been doing in the past, and I think we'll just continue to build on that.
But you're working in meetings. You're not in quarterback meetings anymore. Is that fair?
Yeah, that is fair. I think the conversation was this is my 6th year here, and I've sat through those install meetings with QBs a lot of times now. And so, again, it's about being exposed to different areas and trying to get the proper technique of doing things that I'm going to be asked to do. And so I think the conversation was, hey, you've been a part of these meetings for a long time. Why not get exposure to somewhere else, knowing we're going to ask you to do some of this stuff. Does your
background as a quarterback help this transition?
Yeah, it helps a lot. I would say in the pass game for sure. As I approach stuff in the pass game, I kind of just do what I would want a tight end to do if I was playing quarterback for that rep, and so I've taken that mindset into the tight end position. The run game, I would say, is pretty much all new. Looking at it from this perspective, so I'd say that's been the biggest learning curve.
What's the hardest part of that transition?
I mean, look, I think the element of my game of playing quarterback, there was a physical element to that, but it's a completely different mindset, playing tight end versus quarterback, and I would say it's a more mental game than it is physical at the quarterback position. And tight end, it's like, hey, you have your responsibility, and there's certainly a mental element to it, but far more physical element to playing that position than the quarterback position. So I would say that's the biggest difference and transition for me. Is just it's a completely different mindset.
Have you watched some certain tight ends in the league?
For sure. Well, I would say most of the stuff that I've done is I've watched the guys that have played here. I respect what these guys do, and I'd say my respect for what our tight ends have done here historically has just gone up as I've been in their meeting room, and I didn't fully understand what we asked them to do. And so I've paid very close attention to what they do on the field, what they do, watching film, and I've just tried to replicate what they're doing.
Anybody particularly paid attention to it?
I would say that most of my emphasis has been with the guys here, so I'm a big believer of just watching the guy in front of you. And so, I really respect, Adam Troutman. I respected him when I was playing with him as a quarterback, and Nick Bennett, and I think Juwan's been able to make this great transition from the receiver room to the tight end room, and so I've watched every little thing that they've done, and like I said, just try to replicate what they're doing.
That goal line package, running that as a quarterback, is that for you one of the more enjoyable things that is that one of the more fun parts of the game for you?
I don't know. I mean, anytime you have an opportunity to score, that's kind of the icing on the cake. Sure. I don't know that there's one thing that I would say in particular. I still would say that my mindset is I would rather throw a touchdown than run one, but being able to be at the goal line knowing that you're going to need a strong physical run to get in. That's something that I enjoy for sure.
You kind of brought up Troutman. I'm just curious that now you've gotten a chance to work with him a little bit more in that position group. What's kind of the thing that really stands out about him?
About Adam?
Yeah.
I would say, aside from the quarterback room, and again, I haven't been exposed to other rooms, but I would say the tight ends are probably asked to do the most when it comes to mentally, physically. They've got to put their hand in the ground and block a defensive end, but then they're running a route against a safety or DB, and so you're undersized in one element and then you're oversized in the other. And there's so many different fronts and techniques, and you're expected to know all the different sets and what that looks like for you. And I would say Adam is a guy that we're all still learning, but I really respect his approach to the game mentally, and I think he understands it on so many different levels, and his ability to translate being in the film room and drawing the X's and O's and understanding it out on the football field is very impressive. I would say that's what sticks out.
Yeah, well, he transitioned right from QB to tight end in college, didn't he?
Adam? Yeah, I think that is true. I know that he's played quarterback at some point. I don't know what level that was.
Can you give us a sense of how you processed initially the transition that was brought forward to you from the team?
About meeting with the tight ends?
Just about when the team first told you, I guess in the spring, let's be more on the tight end room and less on the quarterback room and stuff like that. Was that difficult?
Well, I think initially I was a little bit surprised of how it was communicated, but as we've gone down the road, as I've had further conversation, I think it makes perfect sense, and I don't think the role at which what I have been doing is going to change. It's just expanding that role. And so as we had conversation about it, again, I felt like, hey, they're trying to give me the best opportunity to be successful when knowing they're going to be asking me to do things that I've never done before. So why not get exposure there? Made a lot of sense to me.
When you said the running game, you mentioned the running game transition. You're talking about run blocking.
Yeah.
Being a difficult thing. And then just real quick, I'm learning the three-point stance. Can you give an example of, and I think a lot of people would look at what's so hard about crouching down and putting one hammer down. Can you tell me exactly what the nuances are of the three-point stance that you find?
Well, I don't know. I mean, you're expected, defense doesn't just line up in the same front every single time. And so when you get in a three-point stance, you have to have the ability to see everything in front of you and knowing, what the play is. We obviously have different checks. And so I think the balance is being able to move multiple directions, right? And being able to see what's happening in front of you. But then be able to explode off and have a run set both ways, or have a pass set if that's what ends up happening. So I think I'm used to, I've rushed the punter for a long time, and that's such a different stance and different technique than what this was. And it was because of the element of being asked to do multiple things on a particular play call.
Because you've done all these different you've played so many different roles. When DA or whoever it was had that conversation with you, has it been easier for you to accept because you've had this background of playing different roles and making these transitions? Your ego involved, I guess.
I'm not surprised. I don't know. I feel like I'm a guy that I don't take myself too seriously. I'm an honest guy. I'm upfront with all of this, but I think it was fine. I think I'm pretty reasonable. As I've had conversation about it, I said it makes sense, and I'm good with it. That's the nature of the NFL, right? This isn't necessarily what I want. It's what's best for the team, and I'm good with that. All right, guys.
Thanks.